I see so many multi-location and franchise businesses struggle with Google Ads and pay-per-click and just trying to really nail down the right strategy and approach when it comes to managing Google Ads and generating a strong return on investment. So that's why I've put together this pay-per-click playbook on how to succeed if you have a multi-location or franchise business. Now, I have run a lot of different multi-location and franchise pay-per-click marketing campaigns and accounts, and it can get tricky, especially if you've got locations that are so close to each other and they're eating into each other's business, and it can just get really complicated if you're managing everything from one account versus thinking about potentially creating an MCC and managing it from multiple accounts. So I'm going to just give you a framework in this video and a playbook on how you could be running and managing multi-location and franchise business Google Ads campaigns specifically. Now, let me take you through complexity within Google Ads. It does increase with the more locations that you add in. So that's why it's really important that you have a strong foundation and deciding how you're going to set everything up, whether it's all under one account versus multiple different accounts under one My Client Center or MCC. Some of the major problems that I see with a lot of these multi-location Google Ads campaigns that are running, lots of overlapping territories, inconsistent cost per lead, and just very messy tracking. I had a client that he was just managing two different businesses, two completely different businesses under the same Google Ads account. And to me, that's just a really easy way to really confuse the algorithm. And on top of that, it's kind of like having two different businesses and one credit card, and it's hard to track which charge is for what. So that's why it's kind of messy. And it can get super messy as you continue to add more locations. So here's what I want you to think about, because this is the number one thing that I see wrong with a lot of these multi-location businesses that are running Google Ads is they haven't even stopped to think about how to structure their account. There's two main options to consider as you're thinking about building a Google Ads account. Number one is having one account per location. This will allow you to have separate billing, and you can have one account per location and manage it all under one My Client Center account, which is an MCC. That's like the main manager account. And under that, there's child accounts in which you can have one account per location. This will allow you to have separate billing, so each location can have its own credit card associated with it that's billed that way. But I've also seen other multi-location campaigns run where it's just one main Google ad account with several different campaigns, one for each location. And I wouldn't say that there's something necessarily wrong with that. It really just does depend how you do your accounting. And if you can separately label them so that your bookkeeper or accountant can go there and know that this charge was associated with this specific location's marketing expense, then and it's easier to manage that way, then I would say go for it, but it's all billed together under one credit card. So this second option is all billed together under one credit card versus this first option is one account per location. Basically, each location would have its own separate card. So it does align with how you do your accounting. If you have a very specific accounting where you have different locations, then I would say go and different credit cards for each location. This is going to be your best bet, best option. And if you just have one credit card and you're okay with having your bookkeeper accountant going in there and separating out the expenses that way, then you can go about doing it this way. Now, from an account management perspective, number one is actually going to be kind of a pain in the butt to have to go through each and every location, but it's not really, to me, it's not really a big deal because I manage Google Ads accounts for a living and I'm used to going in and out of different accounts. But if you are managing it all in-house, and from a manager perspective, the second option is going to make it easier. It just depends. I wouldn't say it's that much more complicated with the first option, but I do want to let you know your different options. Now, what have I seen mostly? Throughout my career in managing Google pay-per-click ads, I usually see clients go with the second option. That's probably like 80%, because they have like good accounting systems in place versus this one, I haven't seen a ton of, but it still does. It's probably like that 20%. I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. It just depends how you have things set up. The next thing that I want you to think about is after you've specifically thought about how you're going to structure or your accounts and the billing infrastructure, then you need to think about your campaign structure. Within your Google Ads specific account, you're going to have a campaign. Let's say you decided to go with either option, whether it was option 1 or option 2 in the previous slide. You're going to have to create a campaign structure for that for a location. If you went with option 2, you're going to have multiple campaigns, one for every location. And this is typically what I see and how I structure things if I were to manage a multi-location account. I would have a brand specific campaign and then another campaign specific to the core service and another one specific to the secondary service, but pretty much name it so that it's aligned with the specific location. So for instance, brand Los Angeles, brand Orange County, brand service, core service Orange County, core service Los Angeles, so that at least when you log in, these accounts are specific to a location and you could group it and filter it and see the performance by the locations easier versus having things, a bunch of different locations under one account and having it really hard to manage because of the way that you have things set up. So usually it's a brand campaign, a core service campaign. If you have a secondary service, like let's say that you are an orthodontist and you offer braces, but you also offer Invisalign, your core service could be braces, but your second service can be Invisalign. And then if you want a competitor campaign, go for it. I have my own thoughts around competitor campaigns. I just put it in as optional, but it's something that you might want to consider depending on what your budget is and what type of business you're in. But that's pretty much how I would structure things, broken out by the specific location. Speaking of location, let's talk about location targeting and local targeting. You need to consider radius versus zip code versus city location versus county. Radius allows you to target around a specific location. So you can go as tight as, I don't know if it's as small as like 1 mile, but I know that you can, I don't know if that's the smallest, but just think of it as you have a location and then you could target around that location and you'll be able to see that within the Google map. Zip code targeting, I would say, is more precise. If you have a very specific set of zip codes that you want to go after, then the zip codes would be a better fit. But know that if you're using zip code targeting, it's going to limit your reach versus radius targeting. I've seen clients that only exclusively want zip code targeting, and then because there's not a lot of search volume for what they're targeting, we just don't get as much traffic. So think about how you want to structure it. Usually with a lot of these small businesses that I manage that have multi-location, we will go radius targeting with specific to radius targeting. You want to make sure that you prevent overlap between neighboring locations, and also use location exclusions and negative keywords to protect territories. You need to create very definitive swim lanes between your locations, especially if they're close to each other. When I say close, maybe like anywhere between 5 and 30 miles. I consider that to be close, but if they're close by, then what you would need to look into doing location exclusions so they don't serve in each other's territory. Because if you have it all under one account, only one ad is going to be able to appear at once. So think about that. And then also negative keywords to protect territories. So if you have one campaign targeting Los Angeles County and one location targeting Orange County, then maybe in your Orange County campaigns, you would want to put all your Los Angeles specific cities as negatives, and vice versa. In your Los Angeles specific campaign, you'd put all the Orange County cities as negatives to prevent overlap between the two or the different locations. Budget and bidding strategy. Okay, give me a second. I gotta go back. It's freezing up on me. For budget and bidding strategy, aim for a minimum of 10 clicks per campaign per day for enough activity to generate meaningful data sets. If you can only afford 1 click, 2 clicks, or anything less than 10 clicks a day, you're not giving the algorithm enough signals in order to find you the best quality leads. Conversion signals guide the algorithm. If you don't have any conversions, it's not going to be able to convert for you. So 10 clicks per day, that is my magical number that I try to aim for, 10 clicks or more per day. And then start manual max clicks or max conversions. And then once you start seeing stable performance, move over to a target CPA bidding strategy. That makes sense for you. Next, I want to talk about high intent keywords. I only want you to go after high intent keywords. Core intent. So if you are an orthodontist, then you'd want to go after braces, metal braces, Invisalign, how to straighten my teeth. That would be more of a problem-based keyword, but core intent is pretty much saying what the service is. So this user already knows what the service they're looking for is. You want to capture that because that has your strongest potential to convert. Then secondary to that, look into problem-based keywords like how to straighten my teeth. What's the best way to, to straighten my teeth? How do I keep my teeth straight? If you offer like services like that, retainer services, that could be something to go after. What to exclude? As important as it is to come up with a strong high intent keyword list, it's also really important to come up with negative keywords. What are keywords that you don't want to attract? Whether it's someone looking for a YouTube video or a PDF or free services, make sure that you build a robust negative keywords list even before you launch your campaign. And I think another very key thing to include in your negative keyword list, I did mention this a little bit before, is negatives of locations that you don't want overlapping. That's going to be very important. Next is ad copy and assets. This is going to allow you to set your locations apart. Localized messaging is super important. So there's location insertion that's super, super helpful within ads. It will basically take the user's location and put it in the ad and say, Austin, or where, if you're located in Austin, it will say Austin's best landscaping services, or Houston's best landscaping services if you're searching from Houston. So it takes the user's location and inserts it directly within the ad. Use city names in the headlines. You can use the location insertion. I'll link a video below so you could check out how to go about setting that up. Core benefit messaging, super, super important. And then use all assets available. I have clients that ask me, well, should I be using this asset, whether it's a site link or a call out or a phone call asset? I say just use them all because Google doesn't show them all anyway. So might as well just put it in there. And then if you are doing well, then Google will give you a better opportunity to appear with your assets. So make sure that you are maximizing the assets, use of the assets, because that's prime real estate. Then landing pages. I could have a whole video about landing pages for multi-location and franchises. But this is what I'm going to leave you with here. Every location should have its own page. And every location specific page should speak to the user as if they have no idea what the service is that you really have to offer. So you should explain up front at the very top what you have to offer and how it works. Then you can invite them to, schedule a discovery call, book, do whatever you need to do, but don't assume that they already know what your service or offering is. I think that that's a big mistake that I see when it comes to franchises and multi-location businesses. I think a lot of people, they assume that people are already seeing their homepage and they don't have to re-explain what they do on the specific location pages. But if you're driving to a specific location page, that's going to be the first impression that someone has of your business. So you want to make sure that you're explaining what you do on that specific page. What to include: a local phone number, service area map, services, reviews. These are just the most critical things. Another thing is forms with qualifiers. So asking qualified questions so that you can weed out people that are not worth your time for follow-up. And then also, this is obvious, but fast load times for better performance, especially on mobile. Tracking. Google Ads conversions. Make sure that you have bulletproof conversion tracking. Call tracking with dynamic number insertion. Gclid and UTM capture, and this is a little bit more advanced, but offline conversion imports will allow you to import data into Google so Google can match up to your most qualified leads that turned into sales or strongest business opportunities, so Google could then go out and find more. So you're feeding the algorithm with the best data possible so that it can go reach out and try to get you as many qualified leads that you define as qualified leads to Google. I would say that these two that are bolded are more critical than the last two. But I mean, in 2025, 2026, this is definitely starting to be where you need to be in order to see strong performance. So like if you're at the very bare minimum, these two, but your goal should be pretty much hitting bulletproof tracking from all of these angles. And that's pretty much what I have for you guys in this video on multi-location and franchise pay-per-click advertising with using Google Ads specifically. If you are struggling to get results because you have multiple locations and it's just really complicated to track things or optimize and generate a strong return on investment from your ads, I would be happy to have a discussion with you. Check out the link below. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. I post videos every week about Google Ads, and I will see you guys in the next one.